and just what's going on with him to start with.
For the most part, he did have surgery yesterday on his right hand. He's going to be in LA for a couple of days. He's been doing rehab already, and we'll get a little bit more update by the end of this week as far as he's concerned.
And then obviously Taylor will be going.
Yep, Taylor will start. He'll be backed up by Sam.
And then with Taylor, what kind of spark can he provide? Do you feel like he can maybe, because of some of the skill sets he has?
Well, I think because of the familiarity and the things that we do, it'll be an easy transition for us. I think with Taylor too, there is always that ability to run the ball. He's got a little bit of that in him. So it'll be interesting, because the things that we'll do, we'll most certainly do will match his skill set.
Ron, we asked you about the William Jackson situation after the game. You didn't want to speak about it at that point. What can you kind of say at this point about that?
Well, just for the most part, he's continuing to work with Al, do his rehab and stuff like that, and we'll go from there when we get to tomorrow.
Do you have any comment about the report itself that he?
No.
Okay. Do you anticipate him playing this week?
Probably not. But again, like I said, he's working with Al right now.
Thanks.
If he gets healthy, will he play?
Well, we'll see. That's to be determined.
With Carson, was there any thought that him playing through the injury may have aggravated it at all?
Not necessarily. And again, I couldn't tell you that or not. I mean, he played a heck of a game, and he really did, all things considered.
Is the IR decision coming later this week? Is that influenced by?
That's influenced by the next few days. That's why he stayed. The doctors wanted him to stay, obviously, just so he could start the rehab process, and then we'll get an assessment as to where he is at the end of the week.
And can you tell us what led you guys to Jake as the new third quarterback?
He's a guy that we've seen. We know a little bit about him. He was in a pretty good system when he was up in Buffalo, so he's a guy that we feel that, if we ever got into an extreme emergency, he's a guy we believe could learn and learn very quickly.
With Taylor, are there any areas of his game that you've seen grow over the past few months?
I would think so. It's been interesting to watch him in the role that he's been in. He's been a guy that's been very helpful, not just to Carson, but to a lot of the young receivers and backs. I mean, he's a very knowledgeable guy, and again, as far as learning in the game and knowing the game, there's no concern there.
With Taylor, obviously he started against Green Bay last year, your opponent this week. What can you look back at that film and kind of learn from that as he faces them again?
Well, most of the thing, just the missed opportunities. When I go back and look at that game, I mean, for what they do, they're very dynamic on offense, obviously. Especially everything starts with the quarterback. Then you look at them defensively, and they're an opportunistic bunch. They're got some tremendous athletes up front, and one thing they do have is they do have a good core of defensive backs. And when you have opportunities, you've got to take advantage of them.
Assuming you did a little bit of self-scouting over this kind of mini bye, were there any areas that you honed in on specifically?
Well, yeah, there were. I mean, there's some things that we felt pretty good about. At this point, and there's some things that we felt we need to take a look at. We did, and hopefully we'll make some corrections, obviously, and some things that we feel we can do better. We're going to work on.
And do you feel like Taylor's familiarity with the scheme, the mobility, could be a plus in terms of third downs, which is a spot you guys have had issues in recently?
Well, I think a lot depends on the down and distance. We're playing against a team that in third and long is one of the best in the league. So one thing we can't do is we can't get into third and long. We've got to have a little bit more success on first and second down.
Was there any consideration to going with Sam to maybe see what he brought, or
No.
was the focus stick with Taylor?
No, the focus is Taylor. I mean, we're still in a good situation, still early in the year. We like our, what we've got in terms of the skill sets and in terms of our playmakers, guys that we believe we can get the ball to, and don't want to put, Sam in a situation like that this early in his career. We feel he's a young man that as he grows and develops, he's got a chance.
And is there any specific parts about that self-scout that you'd like to see, take a step forward as we go forward?
There are, and there's some things that, when we looked at them, we really feel that, certain adjustments, use of certain players will give us an opportunity to improve those areas.
Can you elaborate on where Sam's at, just in terms of his development?
Well, I think Sam is still learning. in terms of what we do and how we do it. And how we do it is, that's the part that you've got to get familiar with. There's, how we go through the progressions, stuff like that is all about learning and understanding and feeling in terms of knowing what to do in the offense itself.
But none of this should be read into like he's not. You guys don't think he's on track or anything.
Oh no, we think he's on track. We do, but with Taylor, I think right now gives us the best opportunity to be successful.
Ron, just 2 games. How caught up do you think Brian Robinson Jr. is to the rest of the team, kind of in the scheme and execution?
I think Brian's come along very well, very nicely. I think this past week was a good dose for him. It really was. I think in the second half, I think we got a little bit of feel for what that 1-2 punch can look like. Because we didn't have the ball as much as we would like in the first half. We didn't get an opportunity to really use Antonio. Got into the second half, early third quarter, we got Antonio in, and we saw that what the mix gives you. We were running the ball up inside with Brian, and then we went off tackle, went outside with Antonio, and we had some success. And then Brian came back and got a little more success coming up inside with some physical runs. So we got that sense. We put Antonio out in space a couple of times, threw him the ball, and he made a couple of catches and runs with it. So we got that what that mix can be and what it needs to be honest. That was probably one of the things that it was really good to see as far as how we handled the second half.
Absolutely. And then can you talk about some of the advantages you get following a Thursday night game? And then does that, in your mind, kind of make it worth it playing a Thursday night game? I know a lot of people have issues with that.
Well, the issue obviously being is that, on a short week, you may have guys that won't be available. If you played on Sunday, they might be available. And one thing that you always worry about is the repetitive injuries that could happen playing on a short week. But on the inverse, having those couple extra days, letting these guys get out of here and get away from everything. We got back at 4 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and in talking with the coaches, we just felt that because it really wasn't going to be any benefit for the players bringing them in later that afternoon, that I decided when we landed I was going to just cancel everything on Friday and not see them until it was time this week. So they got a little extra rest. We just had a pretty spirited practice. Thought the guys were in a good mood. I thought they moved around very quickly. So that little extra rest, I think, is going to do us some good. As far as the coaches were concerned, to give us an opportunity to look at some things we feel we need to take a look at and correct and work on. Also saw how we can use our guys a little bit better, be a little bit more efficient with some of our guys. So we used it to our benefit.
I want to get your overall thoughts on, you played defense in the NFL, but now you're coaching offense, defense, and special teams. When you see the disparity sometimes that defense has over offense, in particular, Carson had a huge hit on a linebacker or a defensive player, and everybody, ooh, ah. But if that was to happen the other way around, there'd be penalties and, can't hit the quarterback. You being a defensive person in the league, when you see that, I just wanted to get what your thoughts are when you see that.
Well, the biggest thing I've learned, and I've come full circle, trust me, or not full circle, I've turned on it, to be honest. I get it that the most important position in the NFL is quarterback. I made the comment a couple weeks ago, and I got in trouble for it, but the truth of the matter is it is about quarterbacks. This league is if you have a quarterback and you're able to develop this and have that guy go, a lot of good things can happen. But as soon as you start losing guys because of injury and they're not available, you got to protect them. But you got to be able to protect them in the right way, the smart way. I know last week a couple penalties were called that got people a little excited, but the truth is you have to be smart with that position, and because it's really is what drives the league.
But the league was also built on great defenses.
Yes.
Well. It's not just offense.
But you can play great defense without smacking around a quarterback, without taking a shot and taking liberties to drive him into the ground. That's what's happened is because that position is so important. And the opportunity to develop a quarterback within your scheme and have success is important. And I really do believe we get that now as a league, and we understand how important that position is. But at the same time, if we're going to call roughing the passer penalties, they've got to be they've got to be right on it. We've got to be correct on it, because if not, it could be very impactful and take away from the defense. To your point. That is something that we have to be able to get corrected and get right. And we as coaches the competition committee, as we go back, and I know it'll be a point of discussion this year for us in the off season, we're going to have to make sure we get that right for the sake of the game. Because the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to take away from a defense that's playing really well, and all of a sudden that happens, and it turns out to be the wrong call. So we've got to be smart. We absolutely do. But at the same time, just understand what we're trying to do. And as we're trying to put a good product on the field, that product, for the most part, does revolve around having a quarterback that can help and play well and give you a chance to win. That's what we want. Is we want competitive games. We want the closer the games to be, I think, the better it is. And I believe that's the philosophy, or at least the stance that the league takes.
It seems like the team, the players have always believed in Taylor and had confidence in him. Where does that come from, and how does he kind of cultivate that?
Well, I think a big part of it comes from, you bring a guy in 2020 and you throw him out there, and he has this never die, never quit, has some success, and the guys rally. The guys rally around anybody that's going to step up and compete and do the things that you need them to do. And it's kind of that underdog story. I mean, that's a little bit of that too as well. So, it's kind of exciting, and we'll see how it goes.
All right. Can I get a real quick update? Logan, Cosme, and Jahan, will they practice tomorrow?
That we'll find out when I go inside, to be honest with you. I mean, they worked on the side. They worked. They had a very big load today, and we want to see how they are right now, and we'll see how they are tomorrow morning. That'll probably give us a better indicator. But they really did work them hard today, again, with the idea of seeing how they react to everything in the morning. And then that gives us an idea as to whether they'll be available for practice or not. So you guys, the first chance you guys will get to see when you come out to watch it tomorrow warm up, you'll see where they are, and you'll know if they're progressing or not for the most part.
Thank you.
All righty? Cool.
Open locker room now, you get